back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on the royal family. We provide you with the exciting news Buckingham and Trembles. After secret meeting between William and Harry, confirmed reports suggest that the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Sussex engaged in a secret meeting in late November, signifying their first significant conversation in many years. The clandestine assembly in Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate signifies a significant transformation in a familial dynamic that has attracted global attention and underscored essential concerns over the future of the British monarchy. The meeting, its location, and its handling illustrate not only the personal connection between two prominent royals, but also the institutional limitations, media impacts, and familial interferences that have influenced and continue in influencing their ties. No official statement from the palace has verified it. Royal reporters and insiders used irregular security movements around Windsor, unaccounted alterations to the public schedules of both princes, and the deliberately orchestrated silence of palace authorities to get information on the encounter. These aspects may have been overlooked or coincidental. However, cumulatively, they formed a pattern that astute observers of the House of Windsor saw as a clandestine high-level discourse. The negotiation occurred privately away from public and media scrutiny, exacerbating the family's divisions and highlighting the sensitivity of the matters at hand, as well as their mutual need to manage the narrative around any potential reunion. A prolonged public estrangement preceding their meeting. Since the death of Queen Elizabeth II over 3 years ago, the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Sussex have not engaged in significant private discussions as heir presumptive. Although it united the brothers in grief, the solemn ceremony failed to mend their deep-seated scars. The divide has intensified with the Sussexes' televised appearances, public statements, and Prince Harry's 2023 memoir, Spare, which disclosed very personal information. These public revelations altered familial relations and subjected the monarchy's private life to unparalleled scrutiny. The brothers opted for direct communication after years of text exchanges, consultations with experts, sporadic mediated meetings, and a discernible pattern of physical separation at public events. The date, location, and stringent confidentiality measures suggest that both parties acknowledge the impossibility of maintaining silence. Beyond a mere private contact, it has the potential to transform a narrative of estrangement and adversity, creating a gap years prior. Their 2018 marriage accelerated the transition from childhood friends to estranged public figures for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Nonetheless, their difference has more profound and intricate origins. Their connection pertains to the brothers' divergent monarchical roles, anticipations, and perspectives on the incessant demands of public life. Kingship was the evident objective for Prince William, the direct successor. This training encompasses practical education and institutional principles, such as tradition, duty, and public neutrality. The heir apparent to the king must reconcile personal emotions with civic responsibilities. His acquaintances assert that his profound and unwavering feeling of obligation to the crown influences all his decisions. The presence of private secretaries, advisors, ceremonial rehearsals, and a constant influx of constitutional material constrains an heir's choices. This indoctrination may foster a perspective that prioritizes continuity and stability above individuality. Conversely, Prince Harry was born into affluence and obligation, but had a less predetermined fate. The name Spare originates from an heir and a spare, signifying a supplementary line of succession and a lifestyle that permits more freedom but prompts questions over the institution's enduring significance. Harry's ambiguity prompted him to pursue identity and meaning that diverged from his original trajectory. The media's persistent and sometimes antagonistic portrayal of his wife Meghan led to their controversial decision in 2020 to relinquish their roles as senior working royals and relocate to North America. The Sussexes' united declaration of their desire to relinquish prominent jobs intensified their public estrangement. Following their 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, during which the Duke and Duchess presented several grave claims, including insufficient institutional assistance and familial conversations over Archie's skin color, the rift intensified. The allegations elicited a global reaction, reverberated across Commonwealth countries, and compelled the palace to publicly confront issues of racism, privacy, and institutional accountability for the first time in years. The interview also prompted inquiries on the media's function, the obligation of public institutions to protect individuals, and the equilibrium between public interest and private dignity in Britain. The January 2023 publication of Prince Harry's book Spare exacerbated the divide. A intimate and sometimes negative depiction of family life included a detailed narrative of a fraternal altercation and strained dialogues with his father and elder brother. Prince William, who prioritizes privacy and institutional propriety, saw these public disclosures as a breach of trust. The royal family's reaction, especially the restrained silence of William and other senior members, epitomized a conventional institutional stance, often encapsulated by the adage, "Never complain, never explain," rather than safeguarding the monarchy's dignity and continuity by eschewing public disputes. Media conjecture and public discourse occupied the void. In subsequent years, the brothers attended funerals, jubilees, and ceremonial events only briefly, and with evident tension as dictated by social decorum. During Prince Philip's burial, the Platinum Jubilee, and Queen Elizabeth II's demise, they exhibited a calculated detachment and a discernible emotional chill. The performances, yet intimate and remote, suggested a partnership in stasis characterized by obligatory presence and emotional estrangement. Contrary to expectations, the brothers' trauma, the violent death of their mother during their youth, and the scrutiny of a relentless media did not unite them. Their public responsibilities highlighted differences in temperament and outlook. William's composed public attitude and focus on institutional stability contrasted with Harry's impetuous tendency to articulate emotional distress. William adhered to royal tradition, whilst Harry's candid account exposed tensions between familial allegiance and public transparency. William espouses a conventional custodial perspective on royalty, whereas Harry employs narrative to reclaim human agency. The path of dialogue, the late autumn assembly, seems to have been influenced by several causes. According to insiders, the princes each arrived at a juncture when the personal expense of maintaining the conflict exceeded its anticipated benefits. Guidance from trustworthy family members and introspection facilitated this ultimate comprehension. The Prince of Wales pondered during a visit to a young mentorship program in Manchester weeks before to the meeting. A teenager's candid inquiry on forgiveness, specifically the possibility of reconciliation after public harm, profoundly affected him. The question, while simple, was profound, prompting the heir to consider the enduring consequences of unresolved familial discord on his relationships and his children's inheritance. This reflection, together with ongoing discussions with his wife Catherine, the Princess of Wales, prompted him to reevaluate the impasse. The princess, acquainted with both brothers, since university, is said to have stabilized and supported her husband without exerting pressure on him. As per some acquaintances, her influence is measured and directed towards the future welfare of all family members rather than public appeasement. Prince Harry had a reevaluation in California. The Sussex family's relocation across the Atlantic provided them with a degree of independence and respite from the British tabloid cycle. Yet it did not mend their emotional wounds. Harry has candidly discussed therapy, which emphasizes introspection, self-reflection, responsibility for harm, and reconciliation of relationships. Harry's public expressions of sorrow and regret, together with his focus on personal experiences, demonstrated a readiness to engage in difficult topics while safeguarding his narrative. Friends and allies indicate that he seeks reconciliation while maintaining his decision-making autonomy. The support of Princess Anne, according to credible sources, was essential. She allegedly corresponded with each nephew separately on inheritance and responsibility, recognized inside the family and palace for her pragmatic and straightforward approach to duty. Her intervention asserted that the matter was not emotional, but pragmatic. What narrative would their children inherit? She posed the question, when their children ask about this period of family history, in 20 years, would they prefer to assert that they tried to bridge the divide and failed, or that they never made an attempt? This stark but straightforward framing, rooted in long-term memory and familial narrative, redirected the focus from present grievances to future obligations. In homes governed by hierarchy and tradition, parental-style disputes possess distinct moral authority. The concept received approval from King Charles III. After more than 18 months of his reign, the king recognizes the enduring significance of familial cohesion. Having navigated his own difficult relationship with his sons, He saw the need of allowing them to converse freely and privately, free from parental or institutional interference. He permitted a private meeting believing that the royal institution would gain by the brothers conversing candidly out of public sight. The monarch's associates assert that he values nuance and is willing to tolerate unresolved disputes if they enhance operational stability. Advisors associated with both individuals recommended caution and reality, resulting in a less apparent effect. Reliable private secretaries and long-standing aides counseled William that a discreet resolution to ongoing tensions could yield institutional advantages, while confidants and advisors experienced in media management urged Harry to prioritize familial privacy and refrain from supplying additional material for sensationalist reporting. The networks concurred, though not necessarily about culpability, that the series of public disclosures and defensive responses had undermined the family's internal cohesion and public standing. The experts were pragmatic. Even partial reconciliation might mitigate prominent clashes that distract from the monarchy's other responsibilities. Windsor meeting. The conference logistics were executed with precision and discretion akin to a miniature state operation. Prince Harry traveled by a private aircraft from California, accompanied by one security officer and a close advisor. Flight preparations, arrival schedules, and ground operations were meticulously managed to prevent media disclosure and ensure confidentiality. Both sides were instructed to maintain confidentiality, while airport protocols were modified to obscure public visibility. Such precautions demonstrate an awareness that leaks may swiftly escalate into media frenzies. Adelaide Cottage was an important location. Since 2022, the Prince and Princess of Wales have resided in the four-bedroom residence at Windsor Estate. Adelaide Cottage, the residence of William, is unassuming and secluded in contrast to other royal accommodations. This venue, less formal than Buckingham Palace and not linked to the Sussexes like Frogmore Cottage, their former UK residence, was selected to promote interpersonal dialogue rather than institutional negotiation. Adelaide Cottage served as a domestic environment designed to diminish formality and promote free dialogue, circumventing the intense symbolism associated with Frogmore or a royal address. The choice was also impacted by practicality. The position of Adelaide Cottage among Windsor's exclusive grounds restricts paparazzi and opportunistic media scrutiny. A setting associated with family life rather than political affairs was psychologically advantageous. For both individuals, the notable but intimate setting may have been intended to evoke memories of simpler times while shielding the meeting from the intrusive dynamics that have afflicted their public gatherings. In royal choreography, the location of a meeting may be as significant as the content of the discourse. A discreet but formidable security barrier was established for the afternoon meeting. Cottage staff were instructed to maintain a discreet presence. Visits were restricted, and routine external activities were curtailed to ensure seclusion. As nightfall drew near and the brothers readied themselves for their meeting, the atmosphere was a blend of familial interaction and a significant discourse with enduring consequences. They presented their grievances in defensive positions alongside childhood recollections, the anguish of maternal loss, and decades of intertwined public and private experiences that united them despite their growing estrangement. In preparation, the aides of both men tried to facilitate a candid dialogue. Advisors emphasized confidentiality, dissuaded media disclosures, and reminded participants of the meeting's limited objective to restore communication and seek a discreet resolution. Both parties anticipated the absence of public remarks, no photographed embrace at the entrance, and no performative behaviors intended to appease external audiences. The conference was intended as a confidential family management session, not a public relations spectacle, hence moderation was essential. The logistical planners saw it as a therapeutic, boundary-setting session instead of a media event emphasizing the family's efforts to maintain the confidentiality of delicate discussions. Behind closed doors, a significant discourse. The gathering started with fervor and lasted for many hours. Initial chats, regardless of their formality and caution, allowed both individuals to assess the emotional atmosphere and establish a rhythm for more profound dialogue. Casual conversation like the weather, children, and other neutral topics alleviated the discomfort prior to confronting more profound experiences. Insiders said that Prince William altered the tone. He directly inquired of his brother the reason for his visit, pushing the conversation beyond pleasantries. The inquiry elicited a candid response and set the tone for the discussion. Prince Harry allegedly referenced their mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, at the outset of his statement. He recalled her persistent aspiration that her sons would consistently safeguard one another, an ideal they both failed to realize. Harry alluded to Diana, a shared emotional recollection for both individuals. He conveyed remorse for his conduct and elucidated that while he and Meghan were dedicated to prioritizing their family's welfare, he acknowledged that his departure and the public revelations had profoundly wounded his family. Evoking shared experiences seems to encourage honesty. Prince William responded with a lucidity seldom shown in public settings. He spoke as a prospective sovereign and sibling, articulating the daunting, alienating weight of his status as heir presumptive. William experienced a sense of betrayal due to the public revelation of private familial matters and his brother's abdication of a mutual obligation, thereby compelling him to steer the institution's future. He said that his restraint and reticence were attributable to his status, not apathy. William's public expressiveness was constrained by obligation and consistency. The discourse then became increasingly intricate. They deliberated on media and royal communications, a source of contention. William saw certain spare revelations as egregious breaches of trust. The brothers possess markedly divergent perspectives of Meghan's treatment by the institution and the media. Both sides expressed concern for the next generation, the cousins who, owing to geographical and situational factors, may develop as near strangers despite their shared lineage. The meeting's emotional intensity escalated as repressed feelings and long-standing grievances surfaced. Both princes seemed to have sought to evade consequences. They convened explicitly to prevent the recurrence of patterns that had just exacerbated their estrangement. The defined objective constrained the dialogue. When culpability arose, either brother would attempt to redirect attention onto pragmatic subsequent acts. Harry's declaration of no remorse on his departure from royal life was a significant development. Rather than repudiating his family, he said that he took that choice to save his wife and children. William acknowledged his brother's perspective and showed nuanced empathy for the want to change. At that moment, the brothers recognized they were in divergent realities, one confined by the institution and the other opting for a life outside its confines and could not easily inhabit one another's realms. The conference allegedly addressed matters beyond betrayal and protection, including the management of future family gatherings, safeguarding private interactions from media exposure, and the possibility of reaching an agreement to avert more public repercussions. Both men seemed to acknowledge the need for defined boundaries, topics to be approached with caution and never broached in public, serving as reminders of institutional and personal limitations on discourse and dissemination. The meeting concluded with a division rather than a resolution. No formal apologies, public speeches, or position changes were documented. Instead, the group concluded that lengthy silence was damaging and that a new limited kind of engagement was required. Both individuals opted to maintain the confidentiality of their discussion and left the possibility of further communication open. Adelaide Cottage served as the setting for a measured, pragmatic reconnection rather than a dramatic emotional reunion. Participants and insiders emphasized that the meeting's significance lay in recalibrating expectations rather than achieving a swift settlement. The process included relational triage to stabilize the relationship, avert more public disruptions, safeguard the emotional welfare of the extended family, and create conditions for sustainable reconciliation. Consequently, the Adelaide Cottage Conference recognized reciprocal constraints and sought to address them. Consequences: Palace and beyond reverberations. In the next days and weeks, Buckingham Palace maintained its silence. Spokespeople meticulously refrained from issuing denials when the media inquired about irregular activity with Windsor officials. By neither confirming nor denying, the palace indicated that a private familial issue had occurred and would remain confidential. The royal communication strategy has always used deliberate ambiguity to balance public interest with familial privacy. Prince William apprised King Charles the morning after the meeting, who responded with cautious optimism. Following the public altercation between his sons, the king seems to choose a functional, courteous relationship above the restoration of attachment. Queen Camilla, noted for her practical familial impact, purportedly consented. The king and queen consort seem to believe that a more aloof but courteous relationship is optimal for a family divided by geographical separation, official responsibilities, and personal grievances. The husband notified the Duchess of Sussex in California. Her response is intricate, as are many others. Her quest for reconciliation with the royal family will undoubtedly include several challenging subjects beyond a mere meeting between two brothers. The intricacies inherent in notions of safeguarding media exposure and British press reporting suggest that profound familial discussions and institutional reform are essential for genuine reconciliation. Insiders assert that any enduring peace will probably include emotional healing and commitments to govern and safeguard institutional media. The meeting provoked introspection among the acquaintances of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Catherine, recognized for her ability to stabilize her husband during challenging periods, provided him with support during the conference. The enduring welfare of her children and her prospective role as Queen Consort are her foremost considerations. Senior royals assess individual decisions in relation to institutional stability via this generational lens. Palace administrators and communications personnel made little adjustments. Strategic planning for trooping the color and other ceremonial events was modified to include the potential participation of the Duke of Sussex, regardless of its magnitude. Communications authorities shifted their strategy from absolute deflection to flexibility to support the brothers' developing connection. These strategic modifications illustrate the influence of familial dynamics on institutional planning. Private interactions may impact public protocols and event logistics. Public opinion varied as anticipated. Republican advocates and opponents of the monarchy used the assembly to illustrate the institution's vulnerability and challenges in adapting to contemporary standards of transparency and accountability. Proponents of the crown saw the meeting as a judicious and discreet effort to preserve familial and royal dignity. Media commentary ranged from cautious optimism that the summit may stabilize royal public life to skepticism on its superficial nature, suggesting it would not address fundamental difficulties. International responses differed. Commonwealth audiences, where the monarchy is always scrutinized, were intrigued by the family's reunion and its implications for state representation and continuity. In countries with considerable royal itineraries and activities, lawmakers and analysts observed that a collaborative rapport between the brothers may streamline diplomatic and ceremonial arrangements moving forward. Certain international experts believe that the meeting's confidentiality and the extended ambiguity surrounding royal communications would heighten skepticism over the monarchy's willingness to modernize. These discussions influence diplomatic schedules and ceremonial arrangements where the presence or absence of prominent royals may have both symbolic and substantive implications. Inception of a novel comprehension. The autumn meeting marked a pivotal moment, however, it failed to eliminate distrust or reconcile divergent life choices. William is irrevocably connected to the monarchy and its institutions, but Harry exists independently of them. Consequently, their commitments, objectives, and perspectives clash in challenging ways. Nevertheless, observers have seen minor alterations in behavior and symbolism in the weeks after the summit. Prince Harry unexpectedly participated at a charity event in London in early December, shortly followed by Prince William. Although they were not photographed together, palace officials later confirmed that their participation had been coordinated, representing an unusual instance of subtle collaboration among public alienation. This coordinated presence, despite a lack of outward warmth, suggests a capacity for successful cooperation when necessary. Minor symbolic gestures, often overlooked by casual observers, are regarded as significant. The Sussexes' official Christmas photograph had a modestly framed snapshot of William and Harry from their childhood in the background. Royal symbolism is meticulously crafted, and a public photograph may be seen as an acknowledgement of connections and a shared history, prompting protocol-conscious observers to remember and reconstruct. Low-risk signals are enough public to be acknowledged but vague enough to avoid swift scrutiny or clarification. The Prince of Wales's public demeanor towards his brother has likewise become more conciliatory. During a recent excursion in Wales, William succinctly but courteously addressed inquiries from the public and media about Harry, extending good wishes to his brother's family. The statement was widely acknowledged since it disrupted a pattern of complete avoidance. Limited interaction between the brothers has recommenced. They have communicated via SMS on birthdays and anniversaries and engaged in minor family debates. Despite their brevity, such dialogues create a foundational connection and serve as a practical re-engagement rather than a revival of intimacy. These gestures are grounded on practical and emotional considerations. William must reconcile institutional perceptions with his children's future by minimizing public visibility, maintaining childhood normality, and assuring successful family reunions. Harry must evaluate the benefits of family against the risk of forfeiting his platform for independent causes or yielding to an institution he has publicly condemned. Both individuals navigate a delicate balance between personal and public matters. Personnel are examining methods to safeguard private familial relationships from public scrutiny. It was proposed that mutually agreed confidentiality protocols limited use of intermediaries for coordination and security instead of public disclosures, and stringent media embargoes maintained by both sides throughout discussions be implemented. Despite their modesty, these regulations seek to facilitate the development of familial relationships without public commodification. Proposals include coordinating press management to mitigate sensationalist reporting and using technical measures to restrict leaks about travel and accommodations. Consistently adhering to these pragmatic techniques may make sporadic private interactions more foreseeable. Uncertain future obstacles and prospects. The enduring relationship between the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Sussex remains uncertain. The Adelaide Cottage Assembly started a new ambiguous phase. It primarily dismantled the narrative of an absolute irreparable division and replaced it with a more intricate reality, a family grappling with significant discord while pursuing a resolution. Significant issues persist. The distance between the UK and California diminishes informal, frequent connection that fortifies familial bonds. Their children will be raised across continents and time zones, complicating the replication of the daily routines and rituals that cultivate intimacy in many homes. Separation may alter cousins' perceptions of one another, influencing familial relationships in both subtle and significant ways. Moreover, the public identities and roles of the brothers will inevitably generate discord. William will embody the crown and its traditions as the heir apparent, necessitating public restraint and institutional stability. Conversely, Harry will continue in engaging with media enterprises, non-royal philanthropic endeavors, and advocacy shaped by his own experiences. Occasionally, these divergent pathways may converge, resulting in tension about conflicting narratives about past events and the family's global self-representation. External institutional parties complicate matters. Palace communication security and constitutional advisors will seek guidance on managing ongoing interactions between a senior royal and a non-working family member abroad. Security during visits, public funds, accreditation at official events, and the legality of certain viewpoints need discussion. Despite being technical and administrative, such discussions will have symbolic significance and contribute to public discourse on the monarchy's role in modernization. During official visits, elected officials and civil servants must be informed on official arrangements, hence introducing an additional layer via government entities. The reconciliation process will also be contingent upon popular sentiment. The monarchy's ethical authority, enduring nature, and stability enhance its legitimacy. The palace, under pressure to respond substantively to public empathy over the Sussexes' challenges, particularly around race privacy and mental health issues. The royal family will prefer institutional integrity when public sentiment emphasizes responsibility and moderation. The brothers and their counselors will endeavor to reconcile these sometimes opposing forces. Nonetheless, the meeting suggests moderate rational outcomes. The brothers may establish a pleasant, courteous, and selectively cooperative relationship rather than fully restoring their link. This would allow them to have distinct lives while being sufficiently near to facilitate family reunions, oversee child-related matters, and engage in private communication during emergencies. Royal and aristocratic families have formed functional links based on duty or personal distinction, engaging in cordial cooperation for ceremonial and practical purposes. This method creates a lasting framework for managing responsibilities and safeguarding personal relationships from public degradation, rather than attempting to revive a fictional past. Dynastic families have traditionally aligned private interests with public necessities, illustrating that functional accommodation may be both constant and beneficial across time. Subsequent historians and commentators will assess the significance of this era. Some may see the alienation as indicative of the monarchy's difficulties in adapting to contemporary media culture, racial debate, and societal changes, while others may view it as evidence that the crown may endure despite senior members pursuing divergent paths. The Adelaide Cottage meeting will certainly be regarded as a pivotal moment that initiated the development of a feasible but not entirely reconciled future from public discord. The interaction established a pathway. It facilitated the establishment of a novel relationship founded on a common past reciprocal recognition of varied options and a tentative aspiration for future prospects rather than an antiquated bond rooted in similar daily experiences and institutional proximity. The discreet encounter in Windsor may represent the first challenging step towards a peaceful, albeit distinct, coexistence for two brothers shaped by civic responsibility, personal sorrow, and significant media scrutiny. Time will reveal if such action results in enduring resolution or whether future disruptions rekindle past grievances. The meeting indicates that even among notable families, deliberate and discreet dialogue may facilitate transformation, and familial bonds often begin in secrecy. Essential indications must be observed in the next months. Will private regulated interactions remain devoid of press involvement? Will the children of the man have familial contact? Will palace communications elucidate the protocols for inter-family interactions to reconcile privacy with public transparency? The resolution of these practical issues will influence the brothers' relationship. Ensure to monitor if the discourse results in institutional modifications, such as formalized confidentiality agreements or new protocols for managing delicate familial circumstances, or whether it persists as a temporary remedy. The transformation of private reconciliations into public policy and ceremonial practice is contingent upon significant constitutional actors, the responses of Commonwealth communities to royal conduct across several dimensions, and the prevailing public sentiment. Ultimately, institutional theater has a human dimension. The individuals are brothers primarily and subsequently notable figures. Public life strains family bonds, making them more imperfect and personal. Two siblings endeavored to navigate loss, obligation, affection, disillusionment, pride, and love within the constrained parameters of adult life, magnified by public scrutiny at the Adelaide Cottage Conference. This alone imparts significance to the engagement beyond mere royal protocol. If the conference serves as the first step in a series of pragmatic, confidential endeavors at reconciliation, it will have accomplished what several families desire, started the challenging task of maintaining connections amid disparities. Otherwise, it will persist as another performance in a public theater from which the institution and its members must discern how to live more sustainably in an era of transparency and prudence. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.